This episode of the LCTV News is brought to you by Encompass Health, North Shore Community College, Leo Inc., and Brotherhood Credit Union.
Good morning and welcome back to LCTV News. As we inch closer to spring and even nicer weather, organizations and individuals are planning for the future. Warmer temperatures seem to be a good motivator. On the Lowdown, a representative from HAWC dropped by to give powerful insight into their work with domestic violence survivors. So let's jump right into the news for Friday, February 23rd, 2024. Mass Development issued a $6.9 million tax-exempt bond to Leo Inc., who will use the money to renovate their existing headquarters and their early education center on Farrar Street. Leo aims to expand early education and care for low-income children in the greater Lynn area. To this end, their three-story building will be converted into 15 classrooms with a capacity of 270 children, 38 more than current enrollment. Additionally, the preschool will include a commercial kitchen, nutrition center, gross motor room, and multi-purpose room. The entire building will be ADA compliant and include 2 playgrounds. Demolition began in June of 2023, and the school is expected to be completed and opened in June of 2025. Eastern Bank purchased the bond, allowing Leo to have a lower cost of capital. Leo is the largest provider of early education and childcare in Lynn and the surrounding communities in southern Essex County. They work with more than 3,100 households every year, helping young children develop emotional and academic skills. Additionally, they provide home energy assistance and rent and utility assistance. Last Thursday, the second in a series of events commemorating the 1860 shoemaker strike took place at the Lynn Home for Women. Established in 1905 as a place for women entering the city as workers, participants in the event got a look back at the history of the house. On Thursday, February 15th, as part of a multi-event commemoration of the 1860s shoemaker strike, members of the community gathered to hear the story behind the Lynn Home for Women. Originally founded in 1905 as a proper place to stay for single women and first-generation immigrants from Europe, moving into Lynn to partake in the skyrocketing shoemaking business.
And so it's a series of events. So we started it February 2nd with the opening reception at Gala about the resiliency of the human spirit that is coming from the Lynn shoemaker strike.
And when Michelle talked to me about doing this, resiliency of the human spirit, I think it's kind of a subtext line for us at the Lynn Home in terms of the fact that, we're offering an opportunity, affordable and subsidized housing, of course, but beyond that, there's a sense of community here. We have a meals program, we share meals, we have a scholarship awards program, so, kind of talking about the whole person. And that was all born out of some very progressive Lynn residents back in 1905 that saw the need for housing for the women coming to the shoe factories.
Shoemaking had been a family affair for years, with everyone participating, including the children. But as work moved into factories, more and more women were able to get jobs outside the home.
So in 1963, the building were merged and modernized into the present day with the name Lynn Woman for Young Women.
The building was renovated again back in 2012 to increase mobility access and improve the space, but many of the original Victorian architectural elements can still be seen throughout. Today, both men and women are allowed to stay in the affordable and subsidized housing provided. For LCTV News, I'm Danny Vittori. Also on the 15th was the Essex Media Group's Person of the Year Awards ceremony. Honorees from the 7 communities covered by the daily item came to be recognized for contributions to their respective areas.
On Thursday, February 15th, Lynn Museum Lynn Arts hosted the 7th annual Essex Media Group Persons of the Year celebration. Created by Ted Grant, owner of the Daily Item in Lynn, the event serves to recognize those who have made noteworthy contributions to the 7 communities Essex Media Group serves, including Peabody, Marblehead, Nahant, Saugus, Swampscott, Linfield, and of course, the City of Lynn.
The Essex Media Group and the Daily Item take great pride in this event. Perhaps our most important obligation as community newspapers and magazines is to reflect the communities we cover. And there's no better way to do this than by recognizing the people who positively impact the communities we cover.
The winners this year were as follows: Jean Decaro of Saugus, Virginia Fisk of Nahant, Jody Tatiana Charles of Marblehead, Craig Stone of Linfield, Henry Breckenridge of Peabody, whose parents received the award as their son sadly passed away, Elizabeth Smith and Andrea Amor of Swampscott, and finally, Magali Torres Rowe of Lynn. State Senator Brendan Crichton and State Representatives Donald Wong, Jenny Armini, and Dan Cahill also awarded the honorees with official citations. Some speeches were given, both long and short, and ultimately, it was a day of celebration for all 7 communities.
Now my favorite 2 words, good night.
For LCTV News, I'm Josh Englander.
The Lynn Vocational Technical Institute graduated 29 students from their E-Team Mechanist Training Program. Now in its 27th year, the E-Team is a nonprofit 5-month training program where students get hands-on experience in Lynn Tech's machine shop. Tech has hosted the program since its inception in 1997, with the only requirements being that the applicants must have a high school diploma or GED and be employable. In this class, the youngest graduate was 18, while the oldest was 56. The graduates received their National Institute for Metalworking Skills certificate in a ceremony on the 17th. Senator Markey was at the Lynn Library along with several other state and local officials on the 20th to support the Affordable Connectivity Program, which is set to expire in April. Speakers stressed the importance of having affordable internet for all, as millions of people in the United States rely on money from this program to assist in paying their internet bill. Here is a clip.
Our residents need to be online. They need it to go to school and do their schoolwork. They need it to access healthcare and the way that healthcare is going. They need it to find jobs. Some of them need it to do their jobs with remote work. And this is not a technical problem. No one is wondering, well, how do we get fast internet to all households in the city of Lynn? It's there. It's not a technical question, it's a moral question. Will we let financial barriers block residents from accessing the world? That's the moral question that's before the United States right now. And the answer so far has been no. We have the ACP that's going to allow folks to overcome that barrier so they can enter that world. And Lynn is proud to take advantage of it. 7,300 households in the city of Lynn are participating in the ACP. That's 40% of the eligible households, which, by the way, is significantly higher than the statewide rate of 28% and the national rate of 37%.
To watch the full press conference, go to lyntv.org. Lynn Public Schools has received a $15,000 financial literacy and implementation grant from the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. The purpose of this grant is to support the development and implementation of financial literacy curriculum in schools so students can make informed financial decisions as they go into the working world. It was submitted by the History Curriculum Office, supporting teacher training and curriculum development for personal finance classes being offered at Lynn Tech, Classical, and English beginning next fall. Additionally, the financial algebra program is being restarted. According to LPS Assistant Director Curriculum for History, Kristen Tobacco, quote, some of the most important and consequential life skills revolve around financial planning. Lynn Public Schools is now poised to integrate these important skills into a rich and meaningful part of post-secondary, career, college, and civic life readiness for all students. We are hopeful that our young people will now be on a path to be a better financial future for themselves and their families thanks to their financial education in LPS, end quote. The District Attorney's Office sponsored a week-long flag football and sports clinic, and over 100 kids signed up. Run by Rec Fitness Group, it is open to kids of all experience levels as a way for them to have fun and relax during their break.
So today we're running a camp. There's about 120 kids total that have signed up. The DA, the Essex County District Attorney's Office, sponsors the camp, and Rec Fitness and all of my coaches, who are absolutely amazing, helped me run this camp for a week. So we started on Monday. It will end on Friday from 9 to 3. We have ages 11 to 18 years old. Some kids that are here have never played sports before, specifically football, never played football before, and I bet those kids are having a blast.
We work very closely with Chief Reddy and the great officers from Lynn PD, the Mayor's Office, Mayor Nicholson, his Chief of Staff, John Tebow. We were doing some brainstorming and thinking, what could we do to keep the young folks in Lynn busy for this week during school vacation week? And we came up with this plan. Big shout out to Lisa and Eric from the city as well, who was instrumental in helping us get this off the ground.
In Lynn, we've been having some issues with some juveniles doing some things that they shouldn't be doing. We just wanted to give them a place that they can be comfortable, just be kids, have fun, kind of let loose for the week. We have 13 coaches that are here. They all care about kids. This is what we do. We're big kids ourselves. Like, we're having a blast. This week is fun for us.
Athletics teaches so much more than just the sport itself. It teaches teamwork, working together. Sometimes it teaches that even in losing, that there can be some wins. So much of life is about sports, and that's why I thought that this week, the opportunity to have the kids engage in the sporting activities that we are. There's some bonding taking place, kids that are getting to know each other, and just making sure the kids have a great week. And it all comes back to getting people together in a positive way.
After 50 years of service and over 10,000 cases, 95-year-old Patrick Calnan retired from the Zoning Board of Appeals. The ZPA meets twice a month to hear cases and vote on requests for variances on setbacks, use, and lot size, to name a few. Calnan lived in Lynn his entire life, working as a masonry contractor and raising 8 children with his late wife. First appointed back in 1974 as an associate member, he was named a regular member 11 years ago. Age was no obstacle for Calnan, who, in his late 80s, repaired and reinstalled the damaged St. Joseph's Cemetery statue himself. During his final meeting on the 21st, he was presented with the citation as the longest-serving board member in the city's history. Surrounded by family and City Hall staff, Calnan said he will miss his fellow board members and helping the city the most. Over his career, he was known as a detail man and was always willing to visit properties with other board members. Several colleagues commented on how he offered his support to new board members and pushed them to achieve their full potential. As we were about to start this broadcast, we learned that he passed away on Thursday, February 22nd, 2 days after being honored. The City of Lynn hosted a Black History panel on the 20th, where several local residents reflected on their experiences being a Black person living in this city, including challenges they have faced and successes they have achieved. Here's a clip.
What was your general experience like growing up here in Lynn and in this area, and how did those experiences either shape your adulthood, your current life, or your career?
Growing up here in Lynn, for me, is very different than what Lynn is today. I graduated from classical high school in 1978, and that was like at the height of the busing they had in Boston, for forced busing and desegregation. We had a lot of racial tensions right here in our schools in the city of Lynn as well.
Lynn is very different because in Nigeria, like, we're all the same, we all look the same, we're all Black. But here I saw many diverse cultures, and I guess, like, I'm not an adult, but like in my current life, that has really taught me to be sensitive to other people's cultures and backgrounds.
Lynn really showed me that people aren't as they seem, and you might think, oh, if I go out, I'm gonna get judged, I'm gonna be bullied, something, but you never know until you try it. And like Lynn really taught me that you shouldn't knock something until you try it, and you shouldn't be scared to come out of your shell.
I did not want to come to Lynn because I felt like there were no, people of color here. And I myself, me and my sister, we stayed in the house for like a year and a half when we came here and we moved on Timpson Street. Lynn is very diverse now. I feel more comfortable now than I did before because that was a different era in the 70s.
When I think about growing up in Lynn, I really think about the Highlands and the Ford School. I think the Ford School was really the center of my childhood, a really diverse school that really saw a lot of immigration from a lot of different groups. So after the fall of the Soviet Union, we had a lot of Russian students, and then there was a lot of Somali immigrants, a lot of Afghan students. So like Zainab said, it really made me sensitive to different people's cultures, but even more than that, really sensitive to the struggles of people around the world.
Growing up in Berlin was kind of similar to what it is now. I think I had a lot of mentors from going to several youth centers as a kid. A split time, I grew up in Westland and Eastland, but primarily Eastland and the Highlands as well. Lynn is a blue-collar city. You see a lot of people nowadays who I knew since I was younger who are just hard workers, and I think that's how the city goes about itself, and that's our identity as a whole. And it helped mold me to who I am as an athlete when I went to college. Just brought that mental and that Lynn toughness with me, and I credit Lynn for all of that, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
To watch the full panel, go to lyntv.org. The City of Lynn's presidential primary elections will take place on Tuesday, March 5th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. There's almost 61,000 registered voters in Lynn, and 5,000 have already requested or received vote-by-mail ballots. The final day to register to vote in the primary or change your party affiliation is tomorrow, February 24th. If you are a registered voter and cannot vote in person on the 5th, mail-in or early voting are both options. Early voting will be held at City Hall on the 24th and 25th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. and from February 26th to March 1st during regular business hours. Citizens are given the option to vote for one presidential preference, State Committee Woman, State Committee Man, and Ward Committee. Sample ballots are available on the city website and in the election office for public viewing. On deck, the sports update. In a Lynn v. Lynn matchup, the Spartan boys were the victors, downing Classical 51-36. St. Mary's was led by the usual suspects. Jake Fortier with 16 and J.J. Martinez contributing 14 to advance to the finals of the Spartan Classic. In the final, the Spartans put on a show to become the 2024 Spartan Classic champions, beating Lincoln Sudbury 64-46. Despite the score, it was a battle. St. Mary's was up by 8 with 10 seconds remaining in the half, but a last-second steal and long-range three-pointer by Fortier gave them an 11-point lead going into the half. He was named to the All-Tournament team. The third period was a shootout, with neither team able to stop the other, but the Spartans outshot the Warriors 24-11. Martinez once again shined, scoring 23 points overall and hitting 9 of 18 shots in the fourth, earning the title of Spartan Classic MVP. They concluded the regular season in style with a 30-point victory, 86-56 over Arlington Catholic, to finish the year at 16-7. The girls Spartans had an equally successful tournament, coming back from a 12-point fourth-quarter deficit to defeat Dartmouth 49-47 on the 18th. Freshman Bella Owumi had an impressive day, posting 20 points, helping St. Mary's to a 16-6 record. For the second year in a row, they're the Spartans Classic champions, thanks to a buzzer beater by Joe Roberts to defeat Oliver Ames 50-49. It was back and forth the entire game. St. Mary's led at the half 25-23 and 49-48 with less than 10 seconds remaining, but Oliver Ames hit a long-range two to make it 50-49. Following a timeout, the Spartans inbounded the ball, and off a double screen, Roberts got under the basket and banked in the shot as the final buzzer sounded. The Spartans beat two of the best teams in the state for this trophy, as Awuni was named tournament MVP and Lily Norton made the all-tournament team. Despite losing to St. Mary's in the tournament, the Boy Rams finished their regular season on a high note, scraping out a 1-point 68-67 victory over Lowell Catholic. A layup with 4 seconds remaining in the game sealed the win for Classical. GJ Reynolds had a team-high 18 points, followed closely by Martin Avery with 15 and Roki Bree Arias recording a double-double with 13 points and 15 rebounds. Now it is on to the state tournament. Other Lynn teams participated in the largest co-ed tournament in Massachusetts as well. The English boys had a come-from-behind win against Cambridge Ridge and Latin, but fell 85-54 to Malden Catholic. They came up empty in the consolation game, being beaten by Springfield Central 78-71. It was a close game until Springfield went on a 13-0 run in the fourth to take and retain the lead. Denzel Guillen led the Bulldogs with 17 points. A top-ranked Spartan girls hockey team dropped a 2-1 game to second-seeded Notre Dame Hingham in the Hingham Showcase. On the flip side, the boys advanced to the championship of the Cardinal with a narrow 1-0 victory against Belmont. St. Mary's outshot Belmont 46-35, with Mark Hilton scoring the lone goal. They could not reach the finish line, though, losing in the final 3-1 to Pope Francis to end the year 11-10-1. The Celtics have been on break, but there has been no rest for their all-stars, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They both showed off their skills, helping the East to a 211-186 win over the West. Tatum scored 20 points in 22 minutes of play, while Brown went off, netting 36 points and 8 rebounds in his 22 minutes. The Bruins broke a 4-game skid, defeating the Dallas Stars 4-3 in a shootout. Charlie McAvoy scored the game winner in the 9th round. The Stars had a chance to extend the shootout, but a diving save by Bruins goalie Jeremy Swayman gave them the win. The Bees won again in overtime in a high-scoring 6-5 final to the Edmonton Oilers on the 21st. McAvoy was again the hero, burying a backhand shot with 1:50 remaining in overtime. The statewide national nonprofit HAWC came on the lowdown to share their mission to support domestic abuse survivors. They offer assistance for legal aid, medical attention, and child support, including a 24/7 hotline which can be called if anyone needs help. Here is the lowdown. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Lynn Lowdown. I'm Danny Vittori, and today we have on Sara Stanley, the Executive Director for Healing Abuse, Working for Change. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Danny.
Great. And you said you're a little familiar with here. You've been on Jim Carrigan's show once, but you said it was a few years ago. Right?
That's right. But I love your program. Thanks for having me on.
Great. So can you start by, for anyone who maybe isn't familiar with your organization, can you give a little overview of what your main goals are?
Sure. So HAWC stands for Healing Abuse, Working for Change. We've actually been serving the North Shore for 46 years now. And our goal is to provide support services to anyone that's experiencing partner abuse. And that really ranges from someone who has questions about whether their relationship is healthy or not, to people that are really experiencing a risk of, and physical harm, working to help everyone along that spectrum be in a safer, healthier place.
And one big piece I noticed with you is the education, not educating people who may know somebody, but also really dispelling the myths around domestic violence, which I hadn't really thought about before.
Yeah, it's so important, right? I mean, a lot of folks have this kind of misconception that it's easy to leave a relationship. And I think one thing we know is that a lot of relationships are tough. But especially when someone is using abusive tactics, it can be really challenging. Tactics such as gaslighting and isolating someone from all of the other kind of influences in your life, it can really be a downward spiral in people's sense of independence and confidence. And so that's something that we work to help people understand, both for themselves and in the greater community.
Because you provide a pretty wide range of services, from legal, hospital, emergency. Do you want to maybe talk a little bit about those?
Yeah. So definitely it's really important for us to make sure everybody knows that we're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on our emergency hotline. So, 2 o'clock in the morning, if you need to talk to someone, you can call that hotline and you'll get a live person. And so that's something we're really proud of. So you can come into one of our 2 offices, one right here in Lynn at 20 Central Ave, and also in Salem at 27 Congress Street. we are at, and when you come into those offices, we can talk to you about safety planning and kind of setting goals for, what's going to be most helpful for you at this step of your life. And then we're at 5 local courts where you can, if you need to apply for a restraining order or what we call an abuse prevention order, we're there to help you there as well. Our folks can stand up with you in court, and just having someone by your side can make a big difference.
You said try to reduce the isolation piece of it, make them feel like they're not alone in trying to fight this without any help.
Yeah. We just had someone come into, who was living in our, we have a 9-room emergency shelter, and someone was moving out, and she said the most important thing we did for her was first and foremost when we let her know that she wasn't alone. So that is always a sense of hope and connection that we're trying to provide.
How would you say hopelessness can be so prevalent in that situation? How does your organization go about trying to help these survivors feel like they can escape and have a new life?
Yeah. So, sometimes, a lot of times it's first and foremost like you're understanding your rights. So as a family law attorney, you can sit across from someone and saying, like, this is how you can secure custody of your child. That's a really important piece of information. Likewise, we try to provide people with the tools they need to start a new life. We have a great new partnership with this organization called More Than a Phone, and they're going to help us provide free smartphones in a small pilot project, with including data service. We also have a program with Essex County Community Foundation to be able to provide laptops and internet service. So giving people information, but also some of the tangible tools they need.
Yeah, giving them both.
Yeah.
And you mentioned a little bit about the children. You also have specific services, unfortunately, for some of those children as well.
Yeah.
Which would be what?
So children who have witnessed or experienced domestic violence are really at a high risk for either, experiencing partner abuse in the future or perpetrating violence in the future. And that's why that is a real focus point for us, to provide therapeutic services for kids who've witnessed DV and help them process what they've experienced, build some coping skills so that they can hopefully break that cycle. And you know what people do, like if you think about your friends and family, we know people that break that cycle, and that's a really important part of knowing that, like, we can change the tide of this.
And another big piece that I even noticed in a little bit in the mission statement when it was founded was saying it can't be something a behind closed doors issue anymore. You have to shed light on it, as horrible as it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think building up our muscle to talk about partner abuse and partner violence is a really important step to just making sure that people feel comfortable seeking services and seeking support. I would say, like, it's a public health issue, right? It impacts the way children learn, impacts your ability to go to work, it impacts everything about our community. So we need to treat it like a public health issue.
And on that note, how would people get involved with HAWC, even just, volunteer, or they want to give back?
Yeah, oh my gosh. I love to have people involved because, it's all about community, right? That's why we do these shows. That's why, and that's what's going to make things better. So there's a whole range of ways people can get involved. Businesses can join our annual corporate partnership program. You can be super cool and have your business name on the back of our Walk for HAWC t-shirts in June. So that's for businesses. For individuals, you can volunteer with us. You can get trained as one of our community ambassadors, which is kind of a cool way to kind of step up and be a person in the community who's ready to be a resource for folks. So we really love for folks to get involved. And coming up in June will be our Walk for HAWC. That's in its 32nd year. That's a 5K walk and run. And that's a fun way to get people involved as well.
That's just great. And a little bit on that line, the collaboration. You talk about collaborating with so many other organizations, departments, and why is that line of communication so important?
Oh, it's so important because we know some people are going to make their way to us, but not everybody. Most people want to get help from a friend or family member, or someone else that they're already connected to. So we want to make sure everyone out there is prepared to help. So we collaborate with Lynn Community Health Center, the Lynn PD Police Department, the Lynn School Systems, and so many other great organizations here in town, Raw Arts, because we're all working towards the same goal of helping people be safe and thrive.
Mm-hmm. And I'll ask you a little, when did you first become involved in this organization?
Yeah, so I started as a volunteer back in 2014 on the hotline. I was a full-time attorney and had 2 kids, but I knew I wanted to do something to help. And I said, hey, I can have a hotline shift Saturday night from home. And that really sparked an interest in doing this work full-time.
Hey, you're a good example of it. You went from volunteer and you went all the way up the ladder. There you go.
Get out there and volunteer, everyone. It's worthwhile, yeah.
And I guess for anyone who maybe is interested in getting involved in an organization like this, but maybe is a little bit nervous about it, how heavy the topic is, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I think it is, if you think about it as that we're helping people take the next positive step in their life. And sometimes, and that's all about empowering someone to make the best decisions for them. And you don't get to make the decisions for them. So you kind of take that, kind of a lot of that weight right off you, providing emotional support, tangible support, and it's just giving someone the resources and tools they need. So no savior complexes here. You're just, really being a support to someone.
And you mentioned the tangible kind, the digital equity, the more than a phone. Are those programs that have started or they're going to? Like, what phase are they in?
Yeah, so digital equity has started. We're already giving out those devices, and more than a phone is just kicking off now.
Great.
Right. So we're really excited to be able to kind of move domestic violence services into modern day. 20 years ago, you didn't need a cell phone, or probably even be able to get a cell phone, but now you need a cell phone. Most people, need one. So we're glad to be able to kind of advance our support in that way.
Mm-hmm. And I know we have to wrap up in a moment, but was there anything else that you wanted to mention about the organization that I maybe didn't cover or we didn't mention?
Yeah, we just would love to get involved, so if you have a business and would like to learn about how to support your employees, give us a call. If you are interested in holding a fundraiser for HAWC, give me a call. We always appreciate that. And any way we can collaborate and make sure that we're all prepared to help our friends and neighbors if they're going through something tough.
Great. Well, I want to thank you again so much for coming on to share some of this really important information.
Oh, thank you, Danny.
Great. Of course, anytime. And once again, this is the Lynn Lowdown. I'm Danny Vittori, and we'll see you next week with more guests. Now the community calendar. Participate in a virtual evening with romance authors from 7 to 8 p.m. on Monday, February 26th. 3 authors will be on the call to discuss their newest novels, as well as hold a Q&A with the audience. Registration prior to the event is required. To access the QR code, go to lyntv.org. Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, in conjunction with the Metropolitan Beaches Commission, is hosting a community climate workshop titled Adapting to a Changing Coast. How do you envision the future of Lynn and Nahant beaches? They will meet on February 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Lynn Museum with the Zoom option for those who cannot come in person. Participants will be given the chance to inform future ways to improve climate resistance. And using a resist, accept, direct framework will workshop the resources they value most living on the coast. On the 29th, the City of Lynn is holding another public information session for Essex Street reconstruction from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Lynn Auditorium. Construction for the corridor running from Essex to Joyce Ave to Eastern Ave is slated to begin in 2025, using the $20 million provided through the State Transportation Program. This session is to encourage residents to learn more about the project and give them a chance to discuss it if they are unable to make one of the main workshops. That wraps up the news for this week. Follow us at Lynn Community Television for breaking news and press releases from the city and organizations. If you're interested in other events happening, as well as member content, visit lyntv.org. And go to Lynn Community Television on YouTube for interviews, shows, and more. I'm Danny Vittori, this is LCTV News, and we will see you next week.
This episode of the LCTV News is brought to you by Encompass Health, North Shore Community College, Leo Inc., and Brotherhood Credit Union.